Good morning to all of you. I hope all of you are keeping safe and all of you are staying healthy. My best wishes to all of you, and we all hope that now India soon tries and get over this, either by way of a vaccine or by way of a discipline. So wish you all the best in this pandemic situation. Yesterday we had our board meeting and we declared our Q1 results. We had a gross income of 1,405 crores as compared to 2,600 crores same quarter last year and 2,500 crores of in the trailing quarter. Looking at the result, you would see that the month of March towards the end, April and a good part of May was under the severe lockdown announced by Government of India, where we all had to observe very, very minimal business. We had to we could just manage to keep our plants up and running, and some of the things like blast furnace, etc., we had to just keep it going. Otherwise, because of the lockdown impacting logistics, etc., there were hardly any dispatches. So looking at those conditions, we believe that we have done reasonably well in the circumstances. We were among the first to get all the requisite approvals at all our units and start manufacturing activity at the earliest possible. And in the balance period that was there, which was about a month and a half, we could have a top line of 1,405 crores. EBITDA 211. So basically, if you see everywhere, it looks like it was kind of a 50% of a performance, but the time available was kind of less than 50 because we had to ramp up things, and then we also had to face issues like logistics, quarantine, migrant labor and all of those. So in those circumstances, a PBT of 15 crores and a PAT of 10 crores in Q1 gives us reasonable confidence that we should be able to catch up in the balance 3 quarters that we have, and our year-end result should be more or less in line with what we have shown so far. So at this point of time, the way the business outlook appears, if you see in the last quarter, the most encouraging fact was that we could book close to 1,500 crores of order book. That is commendable, and that gives us a lot of confidence of the quality of orders that we have in the pipeline and the quality of orders that we can hope which is likely to come. So booking close to 1,400 to 1,500 crores of orders in the first quarter is actually a very encouraging sign for the rest of the year. Just a word about how, as Jindal organization, we have dealt with the pandemic. We followed strict protocols. We had geared ourselves very well to the extent every manufacturing facility had a quarantine, had a help desk, and had a basic medical facility available so that any person who needs attention could get immediate attention. And then we also had understanding tie-ups, discussions with major hospitals in the region so that in case anybody requires hospitalization, that also can be availed timely. And I'm very happy to tell you that all these results resulted in a very robust kind of a response from our side. None of our units lost any man days in terms of during the quarter in terms of COVID after the lockdown was open. And we also did not have any major issues with any of our people at any of our units. That at least gives us a lot of satisfaction that the protocol that we put in place did work well. Going forward, I must confirm to all of you that we have a very healthy order book. We are seeing an increase in our export portfolio. We bagged a few very good orders. We are seeing an increase in our water business. So the Jal mission of the Government of India is now touching the ground, and we are seeing that initiative getting converted into orders, and that again gives us a very encouraging sign in the medium to near term, because as you know, in the water sector, Jindal SAW is very well poised. We have the helical pipes which are used for transmission, and we also have DI, which is essentially within the city network systems. We also have now a small plant, HDPE, which is working very well. Largely, we are using it for the last mile connectivity. We produce small diameter HDPE pipes just to complete our portfolio for the water sector. So with these opening remarks, let me stop here and welcome questions. One thing that I must draw all of your attention to is that this quarter we had no exceptional item. Going forward, we don't expect any exceptional items to come in because most of it cleanup we have already finished last year.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin the question-answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handset while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. We take the first question from the line of Ritika Gupta from Equitas Investment. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. So I wanted to know how is our capacity utilization currently and what do we expect for the rest of the year?
The capacity utilization is ramping up. So if you really look at week-on-week kind of a performance, because first half of the quarter was near shutdown, we have started ramping up at this point of time. If you really take a break and look at our weekly or a daily capacity utilization, we are close to 60-70%, and we intend going full capacity, as I said, for the rest of the year. Because now luckily the major part of monsoon also seems to be now peaking, and within a week or two we expect the monsoon to ease out. So therefore for the rest of the year that is left means 15th August onwards we wish to go up the capacity, almost full capacity, because we do have a healthy order book. We have enough financial resources, working capital limits are intact, raw material inventory we have stocked enough, and everything is in pipeline. So we expect a good performance for the rest of the year.
Okay, and how do we see EBITDA per ton on a blended basis?
You would see that the trend should continue. See, we are showing a 15% EBITDA. More or less it will stay in that same range. We in fact expect things to move up a little bit because the movement in the steel prices and the way the auctions etc. have happened, pellets are beginning to show some encouraging trend.
Okay, so we do expect a 15% EBITDA.
For sure.
Okay, and the orders that we booked in the seamless segment seem to be at lower realization.
Seamless segment is one segment where we are in the process of ramping up, but you would see a noticeable change in our seamless stainless segment as we go forward, because we are just in the process of executing some 13 chrome order for ONGC. This will be the first time that a Indian manufacturer would be giving 13 chrome. There are a few others that have been taken away from the imported list and put under the Atmanirbhar or Make in India. So, and all those segments pertain to our seamless alloy and stainless seamless pipes and tubes business. So there you can expect the EBITDA to improve in the near term.
Okay, but realizations seem to be much lower on a quarter-on-quarter basis in seamless order booking. Is that right?
Madam, please don't look at Q1 as a representative.
No. Order bookings as a part of our total order book I'm talking about.
That also I'm saying. So don't look at the current order book or the Q1 as a representative of any of these. A lot of ONGC orders are in the pipeline for the seamless business. A lot of other PSUs are in line. Stainless now we are beginning to get traction. We have one or two major award in terms of orders just last week. So you would see a noticeable improvement in the seamless stainless business.
Okay, and can you give an outlook on the Saudi business? I mean, this quarter was EBITDA positive.
When you say Saudi, we don't have a presence in Saudi. I hope you are talking about...
Abu Dhabi.
Okay. Yeah, Abu Dhabi, two things. First quarter, Abu Dhabi was cash positive. It did have an impact on the top line and the bottom line because of the pandemic, because being small country and the rest of the country, every country took chances and took turns to lockdown. So it did have an impact, but the very good sign of the Abu Dhabi is at present we have a very, very healthy order book. We have an order book of more than 200,000 tons in our Abu Dhabi plant, which is very, very encouraging. So now as things have opened up, we are looking at really ramping up the potential for production. We are also looking at debottlenecking a few things.
So what period is this executable over?
Normally, if you see the DI, we get orders which have almost 12 months maximum. It keeps on happening in phases, but normally we would like to finish this 2 lakh ton definitely in the next 12 to 15 months.
Okay, and what would be the EBITDA per ton for Abu Dhabi?
EBITDA per ton, there again, we would be happy if we are able to get a margin of over 15%.
Okay, but is that likely? I mean, because I think till now we've not got those margins.
Ma'am,
primarily because, madam, we have not been able to run the plant at the full capacity. So now, if you see all these plants, the moment you ramp up the capacity utilization, your cost of production per ton comes down significantly because of the continuous campaign.
Ma'am, I'm so sorry to interrupt. May I please request you to rejoin the question queue for your follow-up?
Okay.
Thank you very much. We take the next question from the line of Sri Hari Verma from PMS Group. Please go ahead.
Sir, good morning.
Morning.
Let me say that under the given circumstances, the results are reasonably good actually. And my point is regarding Sathavahana Ispat. In the last phone call, you said that you were having meaningful discussion currently, and in next phone call you will come out with some announcement, because southern states are showing good potential for DI pipe actually for last 3-4 years and going forward also.
Yes, in fact we were hopeful, but Sathavahana, which way it will fall, it's looking a little uncertain. The clouds have yet not cleared. We were interested, but now again we see sometimes, it's going through a cyclical situation. So at this point of time, I am not in a position to give you any concrete or a very positive news, but we are still hopeful, and definitely the southern states are showing demand. So let's see how things pan out, because in between you see the banks and the Sathavahana promoters, it all has got a little delayed because of this pandemic scenario. So I don't have at this point of time any major announcement or any positive, but it should suffice to say that we are hopeful that something may work out.
Okay, so we are still in discussion part, right?
Yeah, we keep on talking to them, but we also keep on hearing a lot of things.
Okay. Because our DI capacity more or less showing the saturation thing actually. So there is not much of this.
No, in DI we do have very little headroom to go up unless we change our tonnage, etc. But in terms of the OEE, overall equipment efficiency, the DI is doing well. Little headroom to go up, and therefore we will have to do something for sure, either Sathavahana or something else.
Correct. All the best for next quarter, the current quarter, sir. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Saket Kapoor from Kapoor & Company. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir, and thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Morning.
Sir, firstly on the seamless pipe segment, sir, the anti-dumping duty prevailing from China especially get expiring on the next financial year, I think so, sometime in April, May in 21. So, how we have entered this seamless as well as the stainless seamless segment and are thinking in a big way that it will be a generating revenue for us going forward. So how will this removal of anti-dumping duty be playing its part?
Let me answer your question in two parts. A, the way the India-China relationship is developing, I don't see business as usual with China. So things would not remain the same. So even if it expires, etc., we don't know what China's specific sanctions government of India may come out with. So that is the overall scenario. But the more important and more relevant for us is the government initiative and the push on Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is the modified form of Make in India. There we are seeing a lot of traction and we are getting a lot of support where governments are actually taking out things that now is having domestic capability and capacity and putting it under the Make in India scheme. So then you don't need anti-dumping, etc. It is just that unless you have capacity within India, none of the PSUs or none of the government organizations would be allowed to import. So we are relying more on the Atmanirbhar and Make in India initiative of the government based on the recent successes that we have in that field. As I mentioned to you just a while back, that now we are supplying their entire 13 chrome piping and tubing and casing to ONGC that we can manufacture from India. And we are not facing any competition from any outside player, including China. So we are more hopeful about getting them under the Make in India policy so that these anti-dumping, etc., will not be relevant anymore. And that's where we hope that we will get our success, because definitely within the Indian players, our capability, capacity, product range, the diversification of carbon alloy and stainless is far, far more than any of our peers.
Right, sir. And sir, about the stainless steel segment altogether, I think so this is the first maiden order we have gone through, that 1497 ton or metric ton, or am I wrong on that?
No. Steel business now we have been in operation for a while. We used to operate the steel business under JQTL earlier, so it was one of the subsidiaries. But now we have got a OMA arrangement where the operations, maintenance, everything is being taken care of by Jindal SAW, and we are able to present a integrated Jindal SAW face to the customer. So this OMA arrangement is decent, but in stainless business now we have been there and we have established a good presence in the stainless business. Going forward, it will be an integrated face of Jindal SAW, where JQTL facilities have been taken over by Jindal SAW under the OMA, and we would be able to give the entire product range of carbon alloy and stainless as Jindal SAW to our customers, which would be our USP.
Sir, for the current year, what are our debt repayment maturities, and what will be the effect of moratorium?
No. Okay. Good question that you asked on the moratorium. This is for all our stakeholders to note. If you see, RBI has announced 2 moratorium, first 3 months and then an additional 3 months. First moratorium we all definitely took because we were in a very uncertain position and we wanted to make sure that we reserve our resources. But after having done a proper analysis and checked our resource status, etc., we have opted not to take the second moratorium. That essentially should give you the comfort of our resources. It should give you the comfort that as a management, as an organization, we are absolutely in control, and it also places us well above many of our peers in the eyes of all the banks, stakeholders, rating agencies, etc. So this is actually, I would say, a demonstration of the fundamental strength of the organization, that we have chosen not to avail of the second moratorium announced by Reserve Bank of India, because we want to get back to normal business as quickly as possible and really do good business.
And what are the current maturities, sir? That figure?
Okay, the repayment, as you see, the way our liability profile is at this point of time, on the term loan side, which is already less than now 1,700-1,800 crores, we have roughly 250 to 300 crores of repayment every year. This year also it is there, and we intend to repay that entire 250 to 300 crores, which is due for this year. We have enough resources to pay that. We would not be either seeking any deferment moratorium, or we will have no problems in paying that. So 250 to 300 crores of debt, the existing debt would definitely be repaid during this year.
Sir, our long-term debt is 2,276 crores.
No, you are looking at the console. I'm talking of Jindal SAW.
Okay, sir, but it is fair to look at the console picture only, sir?
You should not look at a console picture. I have been repeating it time and again, that for the purpose of reporting as is required by law, we give console picture, but Jindal SAW resources are not used in terms of the cash, etc., to repay any of our subsidiary debts. So if you are really looking at the cash position of Jindal SAW, the relevant figure to look at is the standalone debt figure number of Jindal SAW.
Yes. And last point on the working capital, sir. As in the last call also, you have mentioned about we reducing our working capital requirement. So for running the plants running at optimum levels from 15th August onwards, what is the basic requirement? What is the fund requirement going forward on a quarterly basis? Just the working capital requirement.
See, I'll tell you. If you look at my working capital utilization to the extent of say 2,500 crores. 2,500 crores, if you take as my working capital requirement at any point of time in terms of the peak, you would not go wrong, because typically we would always stay below that. That is what we have seen. So that should be the working capital utilization for my inventory, receivables, and all of those put together. But there in working capital also, if you see our board meeting extra yesterday, we have taken certain initiatives because of our AA rating. Now we are planning to go for listed commercial papers, which should again improve. It would give us an interest rate arbitrage for sure. It would open new avenues to mobilize short-term working capital, but being listed, we expect that we would have a very robust rollover facility, so that even though it's a short-term instrument, it would be in perpetuity and it would give us an interest arbitrage for sure. So on working capital side, we feel pretty confident. In fact, I would let Vinay comment on it, because he looks at it on a day-to-day basis. But working capital, we are in a very robust position.
Hi, this is Vinay Gupta. So in terms of the working capital, the company is geared up to scale up the operations. We have enough working capital lines from a consortium of banks, led by State Bank of India, and we remain pretty liquid in terms of our fund baseline as well as non-fund baseline. So in the pandemic situation also, we have kept the headroom available. So we foresee that when the operation increases gradually from here, and we match the operations of last year, maybe next 12 months time, we don't need any additional working capital lines for the same. And we basically, our effort as of now is to how to, let's say, reduce the overall interest cost.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Vikas Singh from Phillip Capital. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Hi. Sir, I just want to understand one thing. In our DI pipe order book of 1 year, so basically it's very difficult to, get the hedging on the iron ore and coking coal side. So how are we planning to manage our margins there? Because 1 year is a pretty long time and commodity prices are on an uptrend.
On the coal side, we have long-term contracts. We almost get under the long-term contract, we try and get maximum 2, but we prefer 1 shipment per quarter. That takes care of the stability on the coal side. On the iron ore side now, we are more or less self-sufficient of sourcing all our iron ore requirements from within the country. And there again, our effort is to try and have arrangements where our raw material price, there is stability, and we buy in such a manner that at regular intervals to keep enough stock. Moreover, you would also notice that in DI, there is a lag factor whenever there is a spike in the raw material prices, but very soon the market price of DI catches up with the movement in the raw material prices. So sometimes because of the lag we benefit, sometimes because of the lag margins do get squeezed a little bit. But overall, if you see, we are able to maintain our stability, which you should take comfort from. Just analyze the Jindal SAW EBITDA margin over the last many quarters. In spite of movements in prices either at the top or at the raw material level, we are in the 14 to 16, 17 range consistently for many quarters in a row. So that should give you comfort that as an organization at a blended EBITDA level, which is material for all of us in this discussion, we stay in the range of 14 to 16 all time.
Okay, sir. And sir, just one more clarity in the DI pipe. So entire 5 lakh ton order book is on a fixed price, or some portion is linked to the pig iron index also?
No. Why should it be linked to pig iron? Because we have we have blast furnaces. All our DI pipes are manufactured by the 2 blast furnaces that we have. So essentially, the raw material that we have is iron ore. Pig iron is one of the byproducts when we have excess liquid metal which we are not able to cast into the DI pipe. Then that becomes a byproduct that sometimes we sell. But again, it is immaterial or it is very, very minimal. So pig iron does not play any part in our business plan.
No, sir. Actually, what I was asking is that is entire order book on the fixed price, or some is variable linked to the current, going forward with linked to the raw material price.
Most of our contracts do have a price variation clause, but they are all government-based and such index that we do not get major either negative impact or positive impact. So more or less, you can take it for the purpose of modeling. We are more or less riding the market. So we do not get a major benefit, and at the same time, we also do not get majorly hit because of the nature of and the kind of price escalation clause that we have in most of our contracts.
Understood, sir. Sir, in terms of our debt increase and our interest payment this quarter, so there is a slightly mismatch. So interest payment has gone down, but debt has increased. So if you could just elaborate that, what I'm missing, is it the interest cost has come down or something else is there?
See, the increase in debt that you are seeing is quarter end, which is a extending trend. That is when we are building up our operations, we are building up the stocks, and we are building up. So what you are seeing, the increase in debt is because of it's a 30th June figure while we are in the process of ramping up operations. However, the interest reduction that you are seeing is for the quarter, which is 90 days. So in between, as I mentioned to you, the collection efficiency of our organization has been pretty good in terms of that even during pandemic, we could collect all our dues from all our clients. And therefore, we did have a reduction in the overall working capital utilization to the extent that many of the lines that we were keeping as reserve, we never had to use it. And that encouraged us not to take the second moratorium as well. So the reduction in induction cost is because your working capital, if you really look at for the full quarter, was like a valley. And what you are seeing at the June end is when the debt is kind of coming up from the valley at a height because we are ramping up operations. So that explains both. In fact, this financial expense of 113 crores for the quarter also has a component of foreign exchange movement. So otherwise, probably the interest cost would have been even a little different from. So there is an impact of foreign exchange also, which is impacting the financial charges because of the way the accounting standards are.
So that has reduced your overall interest cost, or that has actually was some amount, and because of that, otherwise interest cost would have been even lower?
It has, no, the foreign exchange had on the interest cost, it has had a little positive impact. Otherwise, you would have seen the interest cost would have been marginally higher than 113 that we have.
Understood, sir. Understood. And so just one last question. So in terms of our stainless steel and HDPE pipes, so if you could tell us that currently into what kind of utilization levels these tools are running, and what is the potential you are basically envisaging from both of these plants going forward?
Okay. Two questions I would like to separate that for you. One is HDPE, don't mix it with the carbon, alloy and stainless. HDPE, we have put up a plant which is co-located with our pellet plant in Bhilwara. It is a relatively small plant for smaller diameters. Largely all the products of that is catering to the Rajasthan sector itself. This is kind of a pilot project for us. If it becomes successful, then our intent is to put a few more HDPE plants around. So the current impact of HDPE is more from a business perspective of giving a complete range to the client in terms of helical, DI and HDPE. In terms of the financial impact, on a full year basis, HDPE would make maybe 10 to 20 crores of EBITDA impact, which we should see during this year. As far as the carbon, stainless and seamless, that is one of the major segment for us, and we expect that segment to really push the performance forward because other segments, as we all have spoken, are operating already at a very high level of capacity utilization. So the seamless, stainless and alloy segment would give us the boost on account of NSR because we would be able to enter the value-added segments and account of some increase in volume as well.
Okay, sir. And sir, lastly, just pellet EBITDA, if you can share with us.
Join the question queue for your follow-up.
Yeah.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of NM Modi, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Good morning, sir. Sir, my question is regarding pellet business prospects, sir. And sir, regarding this iron ore, as you told that we are buying iron ore internally, domestically, but I understand, sir, we have iron ore mines also, no, sir?
The Bhilwara iron ore mines are low-grade iron ore mines.
Okay.
So those iron ore are not fit for consumption in blast furnace. The iron ore mine that we have in Bhilwara all goes to our beneficiation plant that we have in Bhilwara, where the good part is all our iron ore mines are magnetite. So by using magnetic separation, we are able to increase the Fe content to above 62, 63. We also have a pellet plant there, so we would like to convert that into pellet and we sell pellets. As far as our iron ore requirement for our Samaghogha blast furnaces are concerned, we try and get it from the market because we believe this makes a better business sense for us in selling pellets in the market and buying iron ore from the market.
Right, sir. Sir, this pellet, what is the prospect, sir? Can we increase the production of, is there any possibility of increasing the pellet production, sir? Because like some your peers, sir, like who are doing this pellet business, they are doing very good, sir. I uttered two names, Sarda and Godavari. I understand from them they are doing very good.
We already are operating our pellet plant to near capacity. So if we have to increase the production of pellet, it would mean capacity expansion, would mean more capex, which at this point of time which is not on the table at this point of time. Because if you look at our pellet is already touching 14 lakh tons per annum, more or less. So which is very much near the capacity that we have.
Okay. So it has some contribution, sir?
In fact, in the first quarter also, we did get a very healthy contribution from the pellets.
Right. Okay, sir. This is done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Ritika Gupta from Equitas Investment. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. So could you tell us what is the quarterly interest rate, interest cost that you expect excluding Forex? Like what is the interest cash outgo?
Madam, are you asking for absolute number? You are asking for a rate. I would rather like to give you a rate. If you take a blended Indian rupee rate of somewhere around 10% per annum for all our working capital, term loan, everything put together, you would not be wrong. In the sense, this is a little on the conservative side. Our interest rates, actually, the weighted average cost of capital is better than this.
Okay, so but we don't expect this to reduce?
We have to see the impact. As I already told you, yesterday in the board, we have taken the board approval to go up to 500 crores of listed commercial paper. So if we succeed in that, we would definitely get some interest rate arbitrage. As Vinay mentioned, that now our focus is to reduce the working capital interest.
Okay, and on an absolute term, like what is it that we expect for the full year in terms of interest cost? Is there any reduction as compared to last year?
See, there is some movement in the RBI reducing the, most of the thing as you see, they are linked to the base rate of the bank. So that would be marginal as the monetary policy. But that's why I'm saying, for the purpose of your business modeling, if you take a weighted average cost of 10, reducing maybe by another 100 basis points, etc. over the period of time, you would not be wrong. Because we do not have any foreign exchange borrowing plan at this point of time, and we don't see any spike in the interest rate for us, because we also are very hopeful that we will be able to maintain our credit rating.
Okay, and so you mentioned about the 13 chrome order from ONGC. So domestically, who would be your competitors and what would be the quantum of this order?
At present, nobody can produce 13 chrome tubes, pipes other than us, because these 13 chrome pipes and tubes are, they also have premium connections. And you know, we are at present in the country the only one who has got a premium connection through the exclusive license of Hunting. So at present we are the only ones. And what we are executing is a relatively small developmental order, as it is called. But based on this, we are hopeful that we will get a very large order soon.
And what about the NTPC case update, so?
NTPC, you would have seen in the notes, the courts have not opened as yet for regular hearing. And therefore, what the courts are doing in Delhi is through VC, they are only taking urgent matters, things which are pending and have been coming from long cases like these. We are just getting dates. So we are actually waiting for High Court either to start physical hearing or High Court to permit virtual hearing for such cases. We are hopeful of getting it, but it is just unfortunate that it is getting delayed. We already got 500 crores. We were expecting that if everything would have been okay, we should have got another tranche, but we are waiting for High Court to give a go-ahead to start or commence hearing for such cases.
And so what do we plan to do with that 500, like the next tranche that we receive?
Once we once we get the money, definitely we will use it to reduce all our liabilities, including Jindal SAW. Because last time also when we got 500, Jindal SAW did get a part of it. So since the JITF has been funded through various sources, every source would get repaid in a proportionate manner. Jindal SAW did benefit from the last time. This time again, whenever we get the next tranche, which we are hopeful once the court opens, Jindal SAW would be getting its share of repayment. See, our intention is to definitely repay everything that Jindal SAW has given with interest.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. We take the next question from the line of Sailesh Raja from B&K Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, congrats for winning this 1,400 crores even in this tough market condition. So can you please talk about pellet business EBITDA per ton for the quarter and how much is exports and what is the outlook you are seeing for the current year?
You are talking specifically to pellet?
Yes sir.
Okay. If you see the pellet business of ours, the kind of capacity that we have, which is around, we produce around 14 lakh tons per annum.
14 lakh.
Gujarat becomes our major market primarily because Gujarat consumes a lot of pellets. Two, with Gujarat, we have got a natural advantage in terms of from Rajasthan, there is a freight advantage because otherwise the pellets have to come from largely east part of India. So Gujarat becomes our primary market. We use exports in pellets only as a hedging strategy to maintain our prices. So when we see that there is for any reason a little slow down in the Gujarat market or we have supplied, there is a surplus supply situation primarily because of our products, then we export one or two shipments just to maintain that. So we don't rely on export market for top line or too much profitability on our pellet business. The good part is that our pellet is very well accepted in countries like South Korea. The quality has been very well accepted. So we do have a ready market where we use it to really hedge our demand supply situation. The export potential is largely based on our pipe business, and that too majorly at this point of time large dia pipes, and we expect that the seamless and stainless segment would contribute because DI also will largely try and use it for our domestic supplies because of this emphasis on Jal Jeevan. So the export segment is at this point of time the number one business that contributes to our export portfolio is large dia, and we expect the seamless and stainless segment to also start contributing in that area. Pellet is not a major export component for us.
Okay. Large dia, which overseas we have got the business with? ELSA pipes.
So ELSA pipes, what is the question?
Which region, sir? Any particular region we got the business?
We have a lot of business in India. Obviously, companies like ONGC, companies like Oil India, GAIL, they have come up with a lot of tenders. So we definitely have a lot of business there. And of late, recently in GCC, we have got some very good wins. In fact, one of the very significant win has been in Oman, where we could revive one of the contracts which was looking a little shaky because of the oil prices when it was going down to near zero. That contract, we did have a little bit of concern, but now we have been able to get that back on track. That's a major win. Saudi, we had a little issue in terms of with Saudi Aramco. That also we have been able to salvage, where against the practice of Saudi, where they always go through what they call a Bhumi Putra. Now we have been able to establish a direct contract with Saudi Aramco, where we have succeeded in an FOB contract, and that supply has just been completed. It's a high value contract, over $10 million, which was again looking a little shaky. So a few very significant wins in the GCC sector currently has encouraged us in our export market as well.
Okay. Can you please update us on volumes and profitability in USA operation, and what is the current order book we have in US?
Okay, I hope you are talking about the subsidiary that we have in US. The subsidiary in US,
yes. Yeah.
Okay, it is based in Texas, Baytown. For the current quarter, they have made cash profit, but the business has been significantly impacted on account of A, Texas COVID pandemic, B, oil prices going to the slump, C, the domestic policies of US has been such that the coating, because that is a coating facility, the imported pipe from China, etc., which were getting coated, have significantly reduced. So on all three accounts, our US Baytown facility has made cash profit. We hope the business to revive after now the elections, because till elections, the kind of uncertainties are there in US. We don't expect any major improvement in our Baytown facilities business performance.
Okay. So how much volumes we did, sir, in US in this quarter, first quarter?
Just let me see. I don't have that number handy. Can I request you to talk to Rajiv after this call? Maybe he would be able to give you the exact numbers. I don't have my US number handy in front of me.
Yeah, sure, sir. So in this 1,400 crores order, can you please...
May I please request you to rejoin the question queue for your follow-up, as we have people waiting for their turn?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Next question is from the line of Suyash Kapoor from Kapoor & Company. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
Sir, my first question after going through your quarterly result as well as your annual report, first I will request you to please upload as quickly as possible the latest annual report. It's almost 3 months. And we as a shareholder, I'm representing you as a shareholder as well as an analyst. So one question I want to ask after studying your company's shareholding pattern, that mutual funds are not very much interested to participate in the wealth creation journey or the process which you are taking, because you are a nationally important, you are in the sector which is nationally important. Whatever product you are producing is not for consumer, it is for a business to business, as per my understanding. So please, if you can throw some light, sir, what may be the probable reason that mutual funds are not that much interested to buy our shares? So if you can share your thoughts on it, very kind of you.
Okay. Your question had a few parts. The first is, you are absolutely correct. Ours is a B2B business, and therefore it does have national importance. As you have rightly pointed out, we are very much a part of the Jal Jeevan mission. We are very much a part of oil infrastructure. So to that extent, you are spot on. As far as the annual report getting uploaded, I would let Mantri take that, because he is spearheading that. So Mantri, would you want to give an update on when we are getting the shareholders meeting and when are we the annual report and everything coming out?
shareholders meeting is on 25th of September. But we'll be sending that report through emails.
Last week of August?
Yeah, last week of the August.
So what you could expect that in the next 2 weeks or so, the annual report for Jindal SAW would be out. The law now does not require us to send printed annual reports to the customers. So this is to our client, shareholders and everybody. So that's a good news. All of you will get it on a e-form, maybe in the next 2 weeks or so. And third question, mutual funds not participating is something that we are concerned. We are looking at it, and hopefully we would be able to convince now some of the mutual funds to come in and take a position in our, because we did have some, but maybe there has been a lull, and we do need to start putting some effort in that direction. Vinay is planning investors meet. That's what he was saying, that maybe after the half-yearly results, because this quarter result, yes, relative performance has been good. We would probably wait for our half-year results, and then Vinay would be looking at having meetings arranged with mutual funds where our effort would be to try and at least make them aware of our company's performance and the strengths that we have.
Sir, thank you for answering. Just one suggestion I want to give as a shareholder, that this AGM, this is a great platform for shareholders. Like I am from Kolkata. Even my elder brother was also in the call. He is also from Kolkata. You can check our interest in the company. So there are thousands of investors or potential investors who are, I suppose, whom I interact, they believe in the company's story, but they have certain doubts, maybe regarding corporate governance or maybe regarding some debt issues. So AGM is a golden platform where I will request, if possible, our honorable management, especially our honorable chairperson, Madam Jindal, Madam Sinhu, Madam, if possible for her to get us connected through video conferencing so that we can share our thoughts, our suggestions, our advice, what we think about the company, how can we change the approach of the company to the investors with our experience, whatever we have. We interact with Tata Metallics, we interact with Ratnamani. So what favorable factors we found. So we can also share our experience. So this was my request, that if you can put this request before the honorable management so that they participate in the con call if possible, or they participate in the AGM at least, so that we can share our thoughts through video conferencing. And even if COVID problems get solved, hopefully, God willing, it will get solved. This, please make it a practice to get connected with the shareholders through video conferencing, because that will entrust confidence in the hearts of the shareholder. This is, I think, the need of the hour. Otherwise, a company having a book value of 180 rupees, very respected promoters, very old promoters, as old as hills, that not getting interest from the shareholders is very concerning, sir. So if you can share your thoughts on it, that will be kind of you, sir.
Your advice is very well taken. We would, in fact, I would take the initiative of creating a video conference platform for where we could get to listen to all of you. We don't even have to wait for the AGM to happen, but definitely this time we are planning to have some kind of a virtual platform available during the AGM as well. But as I said, AGM again is structured. It has its own ways, and there are so many things in agenda. But your input or your view on that we should reach out, or we should create a situation or a platform where the stakeholders, shareholders, people who have been with us for a long time and who believe in us and who have faith in us should be able to, and there should be a dialogue. That point is very well taken, and I'm sure we would try and create some platform where we will reach out to all of you very shortly, where we will be able to then have a dialogue.
Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference back to the management for closing comments.
I would like to thank all our stakeholders, and I would like to give them the confidence that sometimes it is said that it's very difficult to build a character during a crisis. in the crisis, the character only gets demonstrated. Quarter one has been one of those where there was a lot of stress, and as Jindal saw, we did display and demonstrate the fundamental strength, the character, and everything that we have built over the years. So thank you all for having faith in us, staying with us, and hope to see you soon. Now with the annual general meeting, which is on 25th of September, and thereafter the second quarter result. But as I promised, I would definitely create a platform where we can have dialogue with our shareholders. Thank you all. Thank you very much.